My 27th birthday, I watched my wife smile at another man across the table I'd reserved for us. The worst part wasn't that she'd lied. It wasn't even that she was holding his hand while laughing at something he said. The worst part was that just 30 minutes earlier she'd looked me in the eyes and told me she was too busy with work to celebrate my birthday. I stood frozen outside the restaurant window, staring at the two of them. My phone was still in my hand with her last text glowing on the screen. "Sorry, babe, I'll make it up to you tomorrow." She had no idea I was standing less than 20 feet away. What happened next turned that quiet restaurant into complete chaos and changed my life forever. My name is Noah. I was 27 years old, and until that night, I honestly believed I had a happy marriage. Emily and I had been together for 6 years and married for 3. We weren't perfect, but we had built a comfortable life together. We rented a small apartment, both worked full-time, and talked about buying a house someday. At least, I thought we did. Over the last few months, things had changed. Emily worked late almost every evening. She guarded her phone like it contained national secrets. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, she'd smile and tell me work was just stressful. I wanted to believe her. When my birthday came around, I didn't ask for gifts or a party. I only wanted one thing: dinner together. I made a reservation at the nicest restaurant we could reasonably afford. Nothing extravagant, just a quiet evening with the woman I loved. That afternoon, I even left work early so I could buy her favorite flowers. When I walked through our apartment door, she barely looked up from her laptop. "I'm so sorry. My boss dumped a huge project on me. I can't make dinner tonight." I remember forcing a smile. "It's okay. Work comes first." She thanked me for understanding, kissed my cheek, and went back to typing. Looking back now, I realized she never even wished me a happy birthday. I grabbed my jacket and decided I wouldn't waste the reservation. Maybe I'd enjoy a good meal by myself. As I drove to the restaurant, I kept telling myself birthdays were just another day. I almost believed it. The restaurant was warm and crowded when I arrived. People were celebrating anniversaries, birthdays, promotions, and family reunions. Everyone seemed happy. Then, I looked toward the back dining room. There she was, Emily. She wasn't working. She wasn't stressed. She was dressed in the beautiful blue dress I'd bought her last Christmas. Across from her sat a man I'd never seen before. They were smiling, laughing. Their fingers were intertwined on top of the table. For a moment, my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. I actually wondered if someone else just happened to look exactly like my wife. Then she leaned across the table and kissed him. Everything inside me went completely silent. I didn't storm over. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. Instead, I walked to the hostess stand. She smiled politely. "Table for one?" I nodded. "I actually have a reservation under Noah." She checked the computer. "Right, this way." The table she led me to made me stop walking. It was only 2 tables away from Emily, close enough that I could hear every word they were saying. Neither of them noticed me. I quietly sat down. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. The waiter handed me a menu, but I couldn't read a single word. All I could hear was Emily laughing. Then I heard her say something that hurt even more than seeing her with another man. I told him work was crazy. He believes everything. The man laughed. "So your husband has no clue?" She shook her head. "Not even a little." They both laughed together. I stared down at the tablecloth because I could feel tears filling my eyes. 6 years together, 3 years married, and apparently I was the joke. I could have walked away. Maybe I should have. Instead, I made one phone call. Not to my parents, not to my friends, not to the police. I called my older sister, Rachel. She answered immediately. "Happy birthday, how's dinner?" I stayed quiet for a second. Then I whispered, "Can you come to Riverside Grill?" She immediately heard something was wrong. "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, she walked inside. The moment she saw my face, she understood. I quietly pointed toward Emily. Rachel looked over. Her expression changed instantly. She didn't yell.
She didn't create a scene. She simply sat beside me and asked, "What do you want to do?" I looked at the birthday cake I'd secretly ordered when making the reservation. The restaurant manager had already prepared it. An idea slowly formed. I asked the waiter if he could still bring out the cake. He smiled. "Of course, happy birthday." A few minutes later, the lights dimmed. The servers gathered around with the cake. Everyone in the restaurant started clapping. I stood up. Emily finally turned around. Her face lost all color. The man beside her looked confused. The servers began singing happy birthday while carrying the cake toward my table. Every single customer turned to watch. Emily froze. I smiled sadly. When the song ended, I thanked everyone for celebrating. Then I looked directly at Emily. "I also want to thank my wife." The entire restaurant became silent. I continued speaking calmly. "She told me she was too busy to celebrate my birthday tonight." I paused. "But I'm really glad she found time to celebrate with someone else." You could have heard a fork hit the floor. Emily stood up so quickly that her chair nearly tipped over. "Noah, please." The man beside her looked back and forth between us. What is he talking about? Emily couldn't answer. I walked over slowly. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. I looked at the man. "You probably didn't know this, but I pointed toward Emily. She's my wife." His eyes became huge. He looked at Emily. "You're married?" Emily opened her mouth, but no words came out. He stepped backward immediately. "No, I think you've done enough explaining." Without another word, he grabbed his jacket and walked out of the restaurant. Emily tried to follow him. He never looked back. She turned toward me instead. People around us watched in complete silence. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I made a terrible mistake." I looked at her for a long moment. Then I placed my wedding ring on the table between us. I hope he was worth losing everything. I picked up the birthday cake, walked back to my sister, and together we left the restaurant. No shouting, no revenge, no destruction. Just the truth. The next few months were painful. Emily called constantly. She apologized. She begged for another chance. She promised it had only been going on for a short time. But every apology came too late. Trust doesn't disappear all at once. It breaks one lie at a time. Eventually, we filed for divorce. Months later, I learned something unexpected. The man from the restaurant had contacted me through social media. He apologized because he genuinely didn't know Emily was married. He even sent screenshots proving she had created an entire fake story about being divorced. For the first time, I realized I hadn't been competing against another man. We had both been lied to. Today, my life looks completely different. I'm happier, more confident, and surrounded by people who actually value honesty. That birthday felt like the worst night of my life. But sometimes the moment that breaks your heart is also the moment that saves your future. If I'd stayed home that night, I might have spent years believing lies. Instead, the truth found me when I least expected it. Looking back, I don't celebrate that birthday because it exposed betrayal. I celebrate it because it gave me a second chance at a better life. So let me ask you something. If you discovered the truth in the most painful way possible, would you confront it immediately, or would you quietly walk away?